Olympian Stacey Flood, Irish 7-star. How are things?
I'm not an Olympian yet, but
you will be
hopefully
an Olympian,
one day.
Touch wood. We'll touch
Once you're an Olympian, you're always an Olympian. I remember we had a panel one day with 3 Olympians, and Gary O'Toole, the great swimmer, was in, and I went through his list of achievements and introduced him as Gary O'Toole. I said former Olympian, and he corrected me and said once an Olympian, always an Olympian.
It's fair point.
I'll let you know if I ever get there.
Yeah. Listen, everyone gets the rings, don't they? The tattoo of the Olympic rings. Is that still a done thing?
Ricky Fowler won the big golf tournament in America on Sunday night, and he has the
straight away.
He has the rings. No, he has the rings.
He represented them.
You could see it.
Yeah, I think most of the sevens lads have them, so it's kind of awaiting our team, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're thinking about it. You're trying to play it cool here.
Yeah, tonight it'd be nice to have the men's and women's team both there. I mean, that's a massive thing in and of itself.
Yeah, like it's a massive achievement. I think it's the first men and women's team from the same sport to ever qualify for an Olympic. So I think that's an achievement in itself. And then obviously, like, it's just grown the sport so much already, and hopefully that still continues. Yeah. What
does the next year, I guess, look like? How do you prepare for an Olympic Games? Is it tournament after tournament? Is it a lot of pre-season and relaxing, or how does it look?
Yeah, so we actually finished yesterday for our off season. So I can't remember the last time I had an off season, but it's here now. So we have 5 weeks off, and then we're back in on the 14th of August for a block of pre-season, and then we have a pre-season kind of tournament games. They're actually in Ireland, so hopefully people can come around and watch that. So I think Australia are going to come over, maybe 1 or 2 other teams to play against us, and then another week off or 2, and then another pre-season block, and then into the World Series in Dubai and Cape Town in November, December. Yeah,
it's a lot of travelling, a lot of playing. Like when you look at the different places, I think you've been to Dubai early December, then your tournaments in Cape Town, Hamilton, Sydney, Vancouver, Hong Kong. Like, you've travelled the world essentially with this team.
Yeah, and some of the locations are the same, but they vary each year. So you're kind of just travelling, obviously, to do a job and to work hard, which is the basis of our team, because it's high performance, but with a group of girls who you have a common goal with and that you get along with. So in that sense, like, you're travelling the world with your friends, and it's quite special and unique. So I think, yeah, we're very lucky to do what we do and to play where we play. Like, hopefully one day we can have a tournament in Ireland and we can get a home crowd and even get more of a following. So yeah.
Was qualifying for an Olympics always I know Bevan Parsons was on with us at one stage a couple of months ago, and she had always that ambition of getting to an Olympic Games by hook or by crook in some sport, I guess. Was that always on your radar, or is that just something that's come about?
When I was younger, obviously I always watched the Olympics, but I never played an Olympic sport. Like, as a young girl growing up playing football for Clanagale, all I wanted to do was play in Croke Park, and that would have been my idea of the pinnacle. And then obviously as I grew up and I got more into watching the Olympics, and actually sevens became an Olympic sport after I started playing. So I was like, oh my god, this could actually be a goal. And now I've been in the programme 8 or 9 years, and we've failed to qualify for 2 Olympics. So obviously, like, that's heartbreaking, and you've only had this goal for however long, but now that we've done it, I'm like, oh my god, it's happened. Like it doesn't feel real, and it still doesn't feel real. And when it happened, I think everyone, if you've seen the last few minutes of our game that we qualified through, everyone just looked numb, legless. Like, everyone was just couldn't believe what was happened. And I do think, like, for some athletes like Bevan Parsons and Amy Lee Murphy Crowe, like, they're such like athletes that, yeah, they probably could have qualified through another sport if they wanted to, but the fact that they get to do it in a team sport with the group of girls we have, I feel like it's so special, because I feel like it's so unique and everything's just come together at the right time.
I guess the difference for the very young players in the squad is that they could dream of an Olympics when they came in, because it was a possibility, whereas you say when you started out, it wasn't even a sport at the Olympics to even think about. When it did become an Olympic sport, did it change your mindset around sevens rugby, that like this now became a attainable target?
Yeah, like it's something obviously you think about and you really want. And at the time of our first qualifier, realistically, did I think we were going to qualify? We had a chance, but I didn't feel like the team was at that point in time ready. And I do think, yes, it did change things for the fact that, oh my God, there's an Olympics on the line here. But realistically, going out and representing your country on a world stage like the World Series is such an honour. And like, I never had that goal even playing GAA, so I think that was such an honour in itself that every time I get to put on that green jersey, I was so grateful and so lucky that, and now I could do that at an Olympics with like a whole group of other athletes, and everyone's like going for the same goal for Olympic medals. So I think that's even more special because it's on a bigger scale now.
You probably spent a lot of time out in the high performance centre out in Abbottstown, so there's a lot of Olympians, whether it's the men's team or just in various different codes hanging around. And I think it was Ellen Keane said one of the best things is you're just talking to people in that high performance mindset. Have you spoken to people already about what it's actually like?
Yeah, it's funny because that's all the like individual athletes training Sport Ireland, and we have like a different building for the Irish rugby, so we actually don't see them day to day. We're like just in our little bubble, if you want to call it. But I know that the Sport Ireland and the IRFU are working on getting more meetings or like once a week breakfasts with those people, with those other athletes, which will be really beneficial for us. And I do think like for people who have been there before, like there's a lot of questions, and like kind of hopefully it's not too big of a shock when we get there, because you don't want to be struck when you get to an Olympics and kind of just sit and just be in awe too much. Like you don't want to be afraid of it, so hopefully that we can kind of break down that barrier and kind of just arrive and be ready to play then. And
the great thing is it's in Paris, so you know it's accessible for all your family. The credit union loans will be manageable enough for everybody. So
100%. I have a big family. I come from 6 kids. I'm the youngest of 6, so we've really big support.
A lot of tickets you got to sort out.
So the thing was they had got their tickets before we qualified, because it's like a lottery system. So you have to put your name in, and then you get a lottery, and then you can buy your tickets within like 38 hours or 48 hours or whatever. And they put it in the family group, and I was like, no one put this in the family group. I do not want to see it. I was like, get it away from me. I don't want to see anything about tickets. I was like, we're not there yet, we haven't qualified. I was like, make a separate group. And then obviously your mum and dad, like I was at home, and they were like, Stacey, we need your help. And I was like, no. I was like, ring somebody else, I'm not helping. It's like, buy tickets for this. Just the fear of it. And it's such an Irish thing to not have that like sense of confidence. Be grand, like, you know, the confidence.
You don't want to curse it
like,
either.
It's totally a curse. And you're like, if I say it out loud, it's not going to happen. Like, whereas like now everyone's like, if you say it out loud, it'll happen. So now I'm like totally swayed. I'm like, if you say it, it's going to happen.
Manifest it.
They would have needed to keep the separate WhatsApp group if you hadn't qualified anyways, and they were all over in Paris at the games. It was like, what are you doing for the weekend?
They're like, I can go to something else. But even this morning they're like putting accommodation in the family group, and it's crazy when you put like, they're putting in the family group. I'm like, stop talking about it, I'm not there yet. I'm like, we've qualified, but there's still a whole year now to build up to it, so you don't want to jinx anything. All I'm doing is like touching wood and banging my head every day.
Spoken about that, I know it's still quite recent, the qualification, but like this is such a big thing in your lives that it's going to dominate your next year, but at the same time you can't let it be everything. That you need to go through the steps, as you say, to make sure you're in the squad, to make sure you don't mentally drain yourself across the year just thinking about this one thing. And that's what it was for this year around qualification, because obviously not having qualified twice before, like, and you're in a position now to qualify through the first route of the World Series. So like we went the whole year being like, are we going to qualify, are we not? And we put ourselves 16 points ahead with 3 or 4 tournaments to go, so we're like, oh my god, this is really highly likely. And then you're just like getting excited, but you're like, you can't get excited. Then us being us and making it hard, we dropped out for 2 tournaments, like dropped down points wise. Last tournament, 2 points ahead of Fiji, 4 points ahead of GB, so it's coming down to this last tournament, and we're like, how have we done this to ourselves? But then it was like all part of the story, all part of the journey. Like you couldn't have written it, and then to just go and do it then. And I think that whole year was
what we're going to experience again this year. So putting a name on it, like not speaking about it, because if you don't speak about it, you'll get there and you'll be literally, oh no, we're here now, and all these feelings come rushing at you. So we don't want that to happen, and I think we've learned valuable lessons this year with qualifying, and we've been working with Siobhan, our sports psych. She does wonders for us, so give her a little shout out. But we've been working with her as a team, and honestly I didn't know what I was missing until we went and done those group sessions. Like, it brought us all together on a different level and really connected us. Just like putting a name on things. Like, we had like a little theme around our last tournament, Toulouse, because we knew that it was going to be such a big deal, but we didn't want to get there and then be shell shocked by it. So I think together we came up with a theme, and we just said we were going to be present and be together and just go and do it, and like, we're all on this journey together. And it was our first way of qualifying. We did have 2 other routes to fall back on, but as a team we knew that we wanted to go and do it, and like, I think that meant so much more, and us just being connected and being on the same page. We all knew that if everyone's on the same page and we buy in and we're all in, like, it's gonna happen for us.
Yeah, the theming thing seems to be something that's cropped up a lot recently. Ronan O'Gara, I know, uses theming a lot in his La Rochelle coaching setups. But that's the tough thing about the Olympics as well. Like, it's a 4-year cycle, so like, if you don't qualify for 2 Olympic Games, all of a sudden you're talking 8 years.
All of a sudden you're 26 years old, and then you're on the 3rd cycle. Yeah.
It's mad though, but that must add a little bit of pressure to it as well.
Yeah, like, and I think that's what people perceive it as, and it is pressure, but if that's how you think about it, you're going to actually be in that situation where you let the feelings get over you. It's like when I used to play GAA, it was like when we got to a county final, it was like, play the game, not the occasion. And obviously that's a really hard thing to do because it's all different, but if you go about your processes in the same way, hopefully it won't be that much different and you can still get performances.
Was that ultimately a tough decision for you to opt for rugby eventually over GAA? I know your sister Kim would have been playing the Dublin team and the Irish rugby team as well, so like, I'm sure you would have looked up to her, but was that a tough decision for you to ultimately make?
Yeah, I love talking about Kim. she's one of my favourites sports players. But and to be fair, I'm so lucky I had that like female like athlete to look at when I was growing up, because it wasn't that visible, so I was very lucky to have someone who actually was just pushing boundaries all the time. And yeah, she wanted to go train and I was like, oh, I'll just come with you, like so I kind of just followed a path she led, but yeah, like I feel like it was natural for me to go towards rugby then when I started playing, and the opportunities I was given, it was quite a natural journey and path for me to take. I didn't start playing rugby till I was 16, 17, where I played GAA since I was 8 years
Right.
of age, and I played a bit of soccer as well, but I didn't have a first touch, so I was no good. But like, I was quite lucky that Kim started rugby 3 or 4 years before me, and I was like, oh no, I don't really think it's for me. I just want to play GAA, and she was like, oh no, like sevens isn't too like too much contact, like it's just all one-on-ones, it's like quite a skillful fast game, like your GA skills will transfer over. And I didn't believe her, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't actually believe her, and then I saw her training away and she was getting really fit, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll do it on the off season of GAA to get fit. Like, that's totally like what I was thinking as like 16, 17 year old. I was like, oh, Dublin minor, like I'll stay fit on the off season, I'll go and play rugby sevens, like. And that's what I started with. I didn't start with 15, so that's why it's my first love of rugby is sevens. And I was quite lucky that I got opportunities when I was younger, so I was playing for the Dublin minors, and at the same time I was doing underage sevens, and going playing in the school games in the UK, and then we played in Sweden in the European Championships, and then from there I went straight into the senior squad, and I went to a trip to San Diego. 18 people got to go because the coach changed at the time, and I was so lucky because I was like, oh my god, I'm over the other side of the world and I'm with all these girls and they're all so driven and so competitive, and I'm like, this is a great lifestyle. And then I was sold. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to put GAA on the back foot and try my hand at this, because if I can have a chance to represent my country, like, that's such a big achievement. And then me and Kim actually ended up getting capped for sevens together and playing on the series for a year or two together, so that's obviously such an achievement for both of us, but it felt so natural because we grew up playing like Gaelic games together and stuff, so
Proud parents
it's really
there,
nice.
I imagine.
I'm not saying I'm the favourite child or anything, but
Are you the youngest of 6? You have to be. My family, the brother is the youngest of 4, and he's definitely the favourite. I think the youngest.
But you're particularly bitter about that, though. You bring up quite a lot.
He's an inch taller than me as well, so
I'm actually the tallest girl in the family, but yeah. No, I'd say my brother's my mum's favourite. My brother, the youngest boy, is my mum's favourite, but my dad does have a soft spot for me now, I have to say.
Parents are watching, I guarantee they won't admit that, but they'll be keen.
No, they never admit it, but he never says no.
Well, there you go. Yeah. No denial. Well, listen, Stacey, it's a massive achievement, and fair play to you all for achieving it. And I know there's going to be a long build up now for the next year, but enjoy it, and don't check in before.
Yeah.
Did you get to play in Croke Park?
No.
Still on the list.
Kim did, though.
She did, right.
Kim did. One day, hopefully. Yeah. Maybe I'll get like the one of those charity games.
Well, I'll tell you what, no, get yourself an Olympic medal and they'll bring you onto the pitch at All-Ireland final.
Hopefully. You never know.
Yeah.
Once I get there, if I get there, touch wood again.
Best of luck with it.
Listen, thanks for coming in.
Thanks very much for having me.
Great to chat to you. Stacey Flood there from the Irish Sevens team.